Welcome everyone to our second reflection. It is going to be on Mary Magdalene. Welcome those joining us on YouTube. Joe, if you'd like to start us out.
Sure. He made me do this. They've taken my Lord away, and I don't know where they've put him. How is this happening? Can he really be gone? It's so early, it's still dark, but I had to come here. I had to see for myself. I just couldn't believe that they had murdered him. He was perfect. He was innocent. Even an evil man wouldn't deserve to suffer like he did. I just can't comprehend it. I'm crushed, devastated. Did I just make it all up in my head? I thought he was going to save us all. We all thought it. We've been talking about it for years, even before he came. He did try to tell us. He warned us that he would suffer. He tried to tell us, but we just couldn't understand. And this, none of us could ever imagine this, the cruelty, the brutality. My heart is utterly broken. I'm torn apart. His face, I just keep seeing his face. He wouldn't even take the drugs to dull the pain. He endured it all. And the mockery, the words those people were saying, how could they even think those things? How could they say those things? He was so good and so kind. I can't even talk about it. I'm numb. Before I met him, my life was a mess. I was consumed by darkness. I didn't even know who I was, let alone what the point of my life was. Nothing made sense. I felt worthless, hopeless, depressed. Sleepless nights and loneliness plagued me. I was in a desperate place, utterly consumed and controlled. I didn't even feel as though I was making my own decisions anymore. I was at the mercy of the voices in my head and the whispers in the dark telling me that I was useless, not worth loving, not worth existing. Everything I touched seemed to fall apart. I was ugly, broken, dirty, disgusting. I thought about ending it all. I thought about that all the time. But then he came, and everything changed. It was like a spell was broken, a weight was lifted. The darkness that consumed me was taken away. I looked at him and I saw the love in his eyes. It was genuine and it was perfect. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't feel worthy even to be near him, let alone speak to him or follow him. But he had given me a freedom that I had never felt before. It was as though he took away every evil thing I had ever thought or done and carried it for me instead. The chains that held me down were broken. The voices were silenced and the torment ended. It was as though he could see into my soul, like he knew me better than I even knew myself. All the things I'd done, all the terrible things I'd done. But rather than condemn me or judge me or ridicule me, rather than leave me to rot like I felt like I deserved, he reached out his hand to me and he told me I was worth something. I hesitated at first. I was scared. I knew that at this moment everything would change. Something pulled me back, screamed at me that I should stay away, that it would just I would destroy this gift that he was offering me, like I destroyed everything else. And the voices consumed me. They tore at me and they tempted me. They told me that life with them was more fun, more exciting, more free. They told me that they cared about me and they could give me power beyond my wildest dreams. They promised me wealth and they promised me they would keep me comfortable. They told me they loved me, even when no one else could. They wanted me to choose them. They begged me to choose them. First they were desperate and then they were angry, clawing, grabbing, yelling, raging. And then, all of a sudden, I saw them for who they really were. They had been handsome and alluring at first, but something about him being there made everything clear. It was like a veil had been lifted from my eyes, and I could see colors again, and I could see light again, and I could hope again. The facade that had disguised them was gone, and their masks melted away, and they were ugly and hideous and evil. I looked to them, and then I looked to him, and I saw that love in his eyes, and I saw that outstretched hand, and I reached out and I took it. Everything stopped. Everything went still. Peace, overwhelming peace washed over me. How could I not devote my life to him? He had given me everything. He'd set me free. He called me cherished one. He showed me the meaning of life. He had shown me what true love was. Not the love that the world teaches, but something so much bigger, so much deeper. And how could I do anything else but love him back? How could I not give everything I had to be with him, to follow him, to get to know him better, to learn to be like him, even if just a little bit? I had this hunger to know more, and I thirsted to experience more of him, and I couldn't imagine my life without him now. And suddenly I had a new group of friends too. They'd given everything up to follow him. Even Joanna, whose husband managed Herod's household, was there, and a tax collector. Crazy. It was a strange group of people, just ordinary people really, but they were together because they loved him too. It was what they had in common. It was the thing that drew them all together. And I had a family now, albeit a strange one. They shared stories of everything he had done since they had met and followed him. And they told me that he was the Son of God. I'd heard stories about the Messiah, but if I'm honest, I didn't imagine this, not in my wildest dreams. It didn't make much sense to me at first, but I made the decision to devote myself to him, to trust him, to believe him. I knew it was right. I left Magdala and I left my past behind me, and we all traveled together. We shared everything. Before I met him, I always held on to my possessions with a tight fist. But now, being with him, I knew that everything would be taken care of. I wasn't afraid to use my funds to support his ministry. It was the very least I could do after everything that he'd done for me. Oh my goodness, the things we learned from him, the miracles we saw. It was amazing. John even said that if he were to write them all down, he supposed there wouldn't be enough room in the whole world for all the books that would be written. I should know. I was one of those miracles. I could go on and on about the time we spent with him and how different my life was after the day I met him and he set me free. But now, here I stand at his tomb, and he is gone. I just can't believe it. I went and told the others. I told them that someone had taken him. I ran until my chest hurt. I could barely get the words out. I told them that we came here and the stone was gone. It was rolled away. Who would do such a thing? After all he's been through, and now this? So I stand here alone. Everyone has gone. They're devastated too, and afraid. I'm broken, lost, scared. They'll be out to get us all now, and he's not here to guide us or protect us. How will we know what to do? I know what I saw. The miracles were real. His teachings were so amazing, so life-changing. I still believe he is who he said he is. But if he was, how is he gone? How is this real? I can't even see through my tears. They just keep coming. How can I live without him? One last look in the tomb. Maybe my eyes have deceived me. I just can't shake the hope that I have in him. It's so real.
But Mary Magdalene stood outside the tomb weeping. As she wept, she knelt to look in the tomb and saw two angels sitting there, dressed in white, one at the head, the other at the foot of where Jesus' body had been lain. They said to her, "Woman, why do you weep?" "They took my master," she said, "and I don't know where they've put him." After she said this, she turned away and saw Jesus standing there, but she didn't recognize him. Jesus spoke to her, "Woman, why do you weep? Who are you looking for?" She, thinking that he was the gardener, said, "Sir, if you took him, tell me where you've put him so I can care for him." Jesus said, "Mary." Turning to face him, she said in Hebrew, "Rabboni," meaning teacher. Jesus said, "Don't cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go to my brothers and tell them, I ascend to my Father and your Father, my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went, telling the news of the disciples. "I saw the Master," and she told them everything he had said to her. Three of the four Gospels report the Lord first appeared to Mary Magdalene following his resurrection. Two of the Gospels, moreover, maintain that Jesus' first post-resurrection appearance was to Mary alone, and the accounts included some description of Mary's bewildered, frightened, and joyful reactions, as well as the condescension dismissal that she initially received when she shared the good news with the others. The scriptures do not describe, however, what happened in the time between Mary's encounter with the risen Lord and the moment she arrived and joined the other disciples in the upper room. We can, of course, begin to imagine what those minutes or hours might have been like. We can imagine Mary running, breathless, propelled by hopeful expectation. We hear her pounding heart, almost bursting with joy. We see the tears flowing down her cheeks, past the upturned corners of her ecstatic smile. In those heart-pounding moments, Mary Magdalene would have been the only one who had seen the risen Lord. She would have been the only one in all of history to have heard the good news. She alone was the herald of the resurrection. Put simply, in those few minutes, she was the church. When Mary reached the others and announced the good news, the church became, for a time, a handful of frightened believers. But soon, there were 100, then 1,000, then 100,000. Now 2 millennia follows, and today there are over 1 billion people on 5 continents, a church of every race and every tongue, yet the one people of God. During her singular moment in salvation history, could Mary have imagined our 21st century moment? Could she have imagined the world-changing power of her simple message? The world we inhabit, of course, would have been unrecognizable to Mary or any other first-century person. Yet the message we bear is the same. We are heralds of the same gospel, sharers in the same mission, to testify to the great deeds of God, to invite every person to faith in Jesus Christ. The Easter proclamation is no mere theological or philosophical proposition. It is the beating heart of a living body, or it's nothing. Like Mary Magdalene's, our proclamation must flow from burning, faithful hearts. The disillusioned, weary world that waits in the upper room demands an authentic witness, a credibility that love alone provides. The world must see our salty tears, must sense our breathless hope. They must know that we are not simply vain, clanging cymbals in the din of modern life, but the heralds of another person, the one who comes to us in the silence, the Creator of whom we long for and whom we dare to hope. If we fail to account for the joy that is within us, then we will have failed to proclaim the risen Lord. All that just to have you stop and reflect. In a moment, we're going to listen to a song. I once heard someone say that the resurrection is what sets Christianity apart from all major religions. If we didn't have the resurrection, then Christianity is a lie. It's dead. It's meaningless. Jesus was just another prophet, a good man, a teacher. It's this moment in time, it's Mary Magdalene delivering that message to the rest of his followers that transformed history, that took Christianity and made it valid and made it different from every other world religion. And I think what I just read, I think it's important that we reflect on, do we carry that same joy in our everyday lives? Are we ready to share that good news of Jesus' death and resurrection? And so I'm going to say goodbye to the stream and invite you to come back tomorrow at 7:30 for the third reflection.
You going to tell them what song you're playing or not?
If you'd like to listen at home, we're going to listen to Forever by Carrie Job. Thank you and good night. And for the rest of you, you're not off the hook. But you are. Nope, you're not. Phil is shaking his head no. But I say you are. So please reflect.
And come back tomorrow.
And come back tomorrow. And think about all the things that you've learned from Mary Magdalene. And think more about other things about this Easter as Phil struggles to turn you off.